Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, and sorry in advance for the hum of the fan in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it is sweltering hot in this room right now, and I have to review a chapter of One Piece focused around a chocolate town. And let me tell you, in this sweltering heat right now, there's nothing more than I would love than a nice, good bar of chocolate. Yeah, that would taste amazing. Anyway, this is chapter 827 titled Totland. What is Totland? Well, we're going to find out, and the focus of this chapter is mostly on the territory of Big Mom, one of the four emperors. We finally get to see what really her country, kingdom looks like. It's a little bit different from how the other Yonkos operates, like, because if you're one of the emperors, you can pretty much claim any island as your territory, but this setup is a little bit different, so that's the main focus. And we also get a proper introduction to Pudding, the 35th daughter of Big Mom herself, which is, who is Sanji's fiance in the arranged marriage there. We're going to meet her properly, and she encounters the Straw Hats, and we'll see what's going on here. Alright, so chapter starts off with the Thousand Sunny mooring itself in one of the outlying islands of Whole Cake Island. Whole Cake Island is like the main place where the wedding is being held, the tea party where everyone needs to go and face on Big Mom, and they're just basically landing on this one outlying island where Pecom says, we're just stocking up on supplies, and it's still about a day's journey to get to Whole Cake Island, but they arrive at the harbor, and of course they're in an enemy ship. They're in the enemy's pirate ship, and the Straw Hats ship is very well known, so the people at the harbor are like, questioning like, oh, what is this? And so Pecom comes out and says, well, this is a ship that I captured from the enemy, and it's filled with sweets, and I have it as a present for Mama, so if you guys could keep this on the down low, that'd be great. And Pecom manages to use his credulity, and everyone was just like, oh, okay, we won't file a report, it's all good. So they land on this island, and it's a town that's completely made out of chocolate. It's like something out of Willy Wonka or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You got a chocolate fountain, you got chocolate houses, you got chocolate clothing, you got chocolate pavement, like literally everything's made out of chocolate. And so, the first thing you question is immediately, that's incredibly stupid, but we'll get to that. There's a brief scene where we see Nami wearing a new outfit that I guess, I don't know where she got it. I don't know if she bought it or if Carrot gave it to her or somebody. But yeah, she has her new outfit for the arc, I guess, maybe. Brooke, of course, tries the obligatory panty shot, and, Nami just pounds him into the freaking ground. Carrot notices that on the island, you pretty much have people of every single race, and sure enough, we see not only minks, but we see people of the long arm and long leg tribe. We even see some dwarves walking around, and it's like, wow, that's crazy. First off, it's surprising that dwarves even existed outside of Dressrosa. I mean, I guess that makes sense, of course. They're just another race, and they were shown, I think, back during the Sabaody arc, when Sanji was looking at that chart, or the list for the auction. I think it listed dwarves as one of them. I know it listed long arm and long leg, and minks, I'm pretty sure too, but I think it also listed dwarves as one of the people being sold, like what their auction prices were, so they most likely exist in other parts of the world. Maybe Dressrosa is just their home country. But yeah, there's people of all shapes and sizes in this country, and Pecom explains that is the vision of Big Mom. Big Mom wants to make a utopia where all races of all the world can kind of just come and gather and eat good food and sweets, and that's what she wants. Now, at first, that seems like a really noble quest for Big Mom, And, of course, she's one of the four emperors, so she got really far here. Pecom basically says this might as well be its own powerful nation outside the world government at this point. He doesn't say it's outside the world government, but given what we're about to learn from it, it makes sense that it would be. So, but I should mention that even though it seems like this is like some sort of utopia, it's going to be one of those, like, scratch up upon the surface, you're going to see some shit underneath. So, Big Mom might sort of be like we're going to rule the world and make it a utopia, but I'm going to do so with an iron fist. That means I'm going to have to, subjugate a lot of people. I'm going to have to kill a lot of people and steal a lot of shit and ravage a lot of countries to make this utopia a vision for me, to make it a reality. So Pecom goes on to explain the actual layout of where they're at right now. They are on an island called Cacao Island in Chocolate Town, and there are 34 islands that are all dotted around Whole Cake Island. Whole Cake Island is in the center, and then you have 6 or 7 islands in a ring around that, and then you pan out even more, and there's more 7 or 8 islands in that. It just pans out in these rings that just emanates outward, with Whole Cake Island being at the center, and they refer to these whole islands as one big thing called Totland, which is Big Mom's own kingdom or Big Mom's own country, and it would make sense that it would be outside the world governments because she's one of the emperors. She doesn't like the world government. She doesn't like the Marines. So, yeah, this is probably her little land, and that's what I said. It's a little bit different from the way most Yonko operate. Like, you had Whitebeard, who was like, I'm claiming Fishman Island as my own territory, but this is like Whitebeard wasn't trying to set up, like, this is my own country that I will rule as the king, you know, he didn't even want that. He's just like, you know, just claiming territories, and if you fuck with those territories, he'll come and kick your ass. That's all that really happened there, but Big Mom is trying to create a whole new vision here. And of course, like, the islands that, like, Big Mom, of course, has territory over Fishman Island right now, but the islands that she declares as her territory and the islands that become part of Totland, I think, are two completely different things. You know, the islands that she claims as a territory provide all the sweets and food and sustenance to Totland, which is the actual place that she is trying to make up into this utopia. So, there's a couple rules with this chocolate town, and by the way, he goes on to explain that each island is ruled by a chancellor, and considering this is the chocolate town, it's owned by the chocolate chancellor, so I would assume that there's, like, I don't know, a gummy island, you know, a sticky island, a salty island, maybe a little gumdrop island. It's like fucking Candyland. Remember Candyland? Yeah, as long as there's not a freaking licorice island, I'd burn that place to the freaking ground. But it's an interesting setup, you know, like, oh, we're gonna journey to all these weird islands with all these different candy themes. That sounds pretty neat. So they're like, going back, there's a couple rules to this island. You can't just go and eat whatever you want. Apparently, if it's made of chocolate and it's not part of a roof, you can eat it. And the reason for that being, I guess, is if you eat the roof of a building, then of course it would be exposed to the elements. But outside of that, and as long as it's made of chocolate, it's the chocolate town, you can eat pretty much anything. If you want to take a bath in the chocolate fountain, if you just want to start eating the tiles off the floor, they don't really go into explain how the weather doesn't cause the chocolate to melt, but hey, it's the new world, it has its own little microclimates. It's probably in this special area where maybe it's... I'm hesitant to say it's a special kind of chocolate because we're going to find out the ingredients coming up, and it doesn't seem that weird, so it might just be a particular weather of the island that keeps this chocolate structural intake. It doesn't melt. And it tends to expire after a while, so maybe they're just constantly breaking it down and rebuilding it. But yeah, along with that, you also can't eat anything that is not chocolate. Anything that's not chocolate is considered, like, personal property, and, like, the biscuits, or, like, you know, anything that's not chocolate, basically, you can't eat. And that's, like, a basic overview there. And, of course, he's like, okay, well, let's hurry up and get into the island so we can get groceries. We're getting ready to go. We have to get out of here. P-Coms obviously can't go because he's too well recognized. Luffy and Chopper already charged immediately into the town. They don't sit around and wait and think of plans, obviously. They charge in, and then you hear in the distance, like, oh shit, someone just ate an entire cafe, and Nami's like, oh, well, that's them. I'll be on my way now. Take care of the ship, P-Coms. So they head on out to the town, and sure enough, Chopper and Luffy do not know any of these rules about the island that P-Com just explained. You'd think he'd probably explain that before they docked at the island. Hey, we're arriving on Cacao Island. Yeah, Luffy wouldn't have fucking paid attention anyway. What the hell am I trying to? Anyway, yeah, so Luffy and Chopper just immediately consume this entire cafe, like the walls and the roof, pretty much the entire thing, along with some marshmallows and some jelly beans, which of course are not chocolate, so they are considered property, private property, and they're being accosted by a policeman who's like, oh, I gotta write you up here. We gotta take you to the station. We got some jelly bean thieves here. Like, that must be what he wrote down, like, jelly bean thieves. This is the idea of, like, what a 5-year-old views as, like, the perfect utopia. Chocolate town, man. That would be, you know, that would be awesome for about maybe 10 minutes, and then after a while you'd be like, I mean, I guess diabetes doesn't exist in the One Piece universe. Yeah, you know, just a side note here, I live in Pennsylvania, and one of the most popular places to visit in Pennsylvania in terms of amusement parks is Hershey. The Hershey bar was invented in Pennsylvania, so you can go there and you can take a tour of the factory, and they also have an entire amusement park that is built around the idea of chocolate. Like, each of the different, you know, lands in Hershey is like, you know, here's Reese Park, here's the, you know, Hershey Kiss Park, or whatever, you know, whatever part of the chocolate. And in Hershey Park, they have vending machines that serve chocolate and milk. Now, at first, that sounds like a really, oh, it's a cutesy idea, get it, because it's a chocolate theme park, but not so much when it's like 95 degrees out and you're walking around like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna shove some chocolate cake in my mouth in this sweltering heat and this nice bottle of milk to curdle in my stomach as I'm just riding this roller coaster. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It honestly kind of made me sick whenever I visited there, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, they is like about to get arrested, essentially, and then you have Pedro and Brooke that are walking around, and the whole thing, they're about to interfere, but the whole thing gets broken up by none other than Pudding. She arrives on the scene here with 2 other characters. She actually does not get an info box herself. She has this jelly creature on her left shoulder, which we actually already saw before when she was first introduced back at the end of the Fishman Island arc. When we saw Whole Cake Island for the first time, we saw this girl there wearing like a really low cut. I remember her boobs being way... Am I the only one that thought her boobs were way bigger back when we actually first saw her? You know what, screw it. I know this is, you know, I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. I should have had this ready. I apologize, but yeah, hold on. The Big Mom Pirates. She was the one with the third eye, which we don't get to see in this episode because her bangs keep hiding it, so we don't know. Okay, Big Mom Pirates Triclops Girl. Let's just type that in. I'll probably come up with something. Yeah, there she is. There she is right here. So... save that here. This is professional as shit, isn't it? And here. Okay, so yeah, that's how she appeared the first time we saw her, and she had like this jelly creature hanging off her. And now we see this other jelly creature. This one has a face and a hat, but I'm assuming it's the same thing. And this is the actual real owner of the cafe that they're visiting, and it is Nitro the Jelly. So I wonder if he has some sort of explosive properties. Probably not, just throwing that out there. And then also you have Labian the Carpet, which is this magic flying carpet that has a face also. Get used to weird things having faces. That's just a theme of the Totland, apparently. But she shows up, and I guess she's not the owner. That would be the Nitro the Jelly, but I guess she's maybe one of the proprietors or one of the waitresses at the cafe or whatever. She works there, and she basically saves Luffy and Chopper from being arrested. She's like, wait a second, this is ridiculous! You did not finish eating this cafe. Here, and she just crams more chocolate and food into Luffy's mouth, and Luffy and Chopper pass out from like a food coma. They're like, it's so good, my chocolate. So they pass out, and she convinces the policeman, like, oh, I hired these guys to tear down the building because I guess it was reaching its expiration date. So I guess that's what they do. They just tear down the buildings whenever it gets expired, and the policeman's like, oh, okay, you gotta remember to put signs up for that because, you know, we don't know what's going on. There were still customers in there. Anyway, oh shit, Captain, we have a gumdrop thief on Lollipop River. I'm there, bitch. And he just speeds off. That's, you know, that's that. I guess that's the standard state of affairs in this island. So then we cut over to Nami, Carrot, Pedro, and Brooke. They're walking around the town area, and Pedro almost gets kind of found out by another mink that's there. He's like a wolf mink, and he recognizes Pedro from his homeland of Zoe, and Pedro just kind of like grabs his mouth, and he's like, wait, no, I'm just here on vacation, don't look at me, don't talk about me, it's cool. And the guy, I mean, the mink is loyal to him. He's not going to be like, oh, I see you here, you're a trespasser. No, but it's very obvious that people are going to recognize him, and Nami's like, oh, wait, you know people here? And Pedro's like, I'll tell you about it later. So we're probably going to find out some shit that happened, you know, there. I mean, he didn't seem like, I mean, it is interesting, because the Ming tribe, apparently, according to the rest of the world, they've been isolated on Zoe. Now, of course, we know that the minks don't hate humans, but from the perspective of the outside, they don't really go a lot of places. They don't really travel around. It's not really commonplace to just see minks hanging around. So the idea that they're on Totland here, maybe something else is going on, Pedro's going to explain later on there. So we later, I guess, go inside Pudding's house, where she's treating Luffy and Chopper to some tea, and the entire gang's there, and she's explaining, like, oh, I made this chocolate this way, and you said you loved it so much, so I thought I would let you eat it, and so that's the reason she helped them out. She didn't actually know who they were. This basically leads into, they don't know it's Sanji's fiancé yet, by the way. They don't know this is the person that's meeting. Also, I have to bring up, isn't that just amazingly coincidental that they would run into the one person that they were looking for, basically? Like, there's 34 islands around Whole Cake Island, and the wedding's like 3 days away, and she's on like one of these outlying islands, and it's just like, oh, we just happened to run into the one person that can connect us to Whole Cake Island. Isn't that a coinky dink? Oh, whatever. You gotta love those tropes, right? Anyway, Luffy, of course, when she asks him, oh, I'm so rude, what are your names? She doesn't announce her name as Pudding yet, I don't believe. Oh, maybe she does, but it doesn't really matter because they don't know the name of Sanji's fiancé yet. And Luffy, of course, is about to spill the beans. He's like, oh, I'm Luffy! I'm gonna Kaizo Kuoni, Orianara! And she's like, oh, wait! And she turns her head like, eh? And Nami stops him from doing the whole spiel, but she very clearly heard something. And that's the last scene we have there. And so we cut to the last scene of chapter now, where we see Whole Cake Island very properly, and we get a full introduction of Big Mom. The last time we saw her, she was mostly in silhouette. We just knew she was a pretty big lady. We didn't really know the whole, what her face really truly looked like. She knew like a really big nose, kind of like a witch sort of appearance. But now we get to see what it is. So we cut over to Whole Cake Island, where there's this full-on fucking musical number going on. Like, we're having a wedding, the tea party's only 3 days away, yay, cake, we love the wedding cake, and everything is dancing and singing. It's a scene straight out of a Disney movie, right out of Beauty and the Beast. We even see a talking, singing teapot. So, yeah, talking dressers, talking chairs, talking flowers, talking rainbows. You explain to me how that's possible. Talking spectrum of light. The sun is happy and shining. And they're probably just really specific wildlife on the island, I would imagine. Or maybe Big Mom has some sort of devil fruit power that allows her to... Well, I don't know, because the last time we saw her, she could apparently eat people whole with her stomach acid and kill them. And so maybe she had some sort of acidic fruit. But then her whole island is filled with nothing but singing animals. That doesn't seem natural. I mean, there's a damn cheeseburger bouncing around singing songs about ingredients. I mean, it's a scene right out of Toriko, basically. When that shit happens then in that series, I'm like, okay, a dancing, singing flower pot, that's cool, whatever. But here, it's just like, alright. Anyway, they go around and they basically, it's kind of a morbid song, really. It starts off all nice and happy, like, we're making a wedding cake for the tea party. And then it turns into this whole thing where it's like, we're gonna kill no matter what we take, we're gonna rob whoever we have to, we're gonna destroy whatever lives we have to receive this cake. And they're like, the eggs acquired, and then we cut over to an island with these giant eggs, and people are dead, and swords and shit. Then we cut over to an island where this guy's acquiring flour, and there's people dead behind him, and then we cut over to this island with a fruit, and it's the same shit. So, yeah, Big Mom's pretty brutal, but she does it in a very melodic, Disney-esque way. The chefs get ready, they pull out their knives, and they're like ready to prepare the cake, and then we have Big Mom herself who's dancing in this field of these all inanimate, happy, singing creatures, and that's pretty much where the chapter ends right there. But it's also announced that Straw Hat Luffy is on the island, and Big Mom is aware of his presence, and she is full on just like tongue flapping out, just like, Straw Hat's here, and then that's the end of the chapter. This is Totland. So, good introduction. Proper introduction, I would say, to the beginning of this arc with Big Mom and the Sanji rescue arc, I guess. We get a full spectrum of what this Totland is like. So I would assume we're going to stick around on the Chocolate Island maybe next chapter, and it's probably going to be Pudding that's the one that's going to lead everybody to Whole Cake Island, because she's going there anyway. The tea party is only 3 days away. They've stated that Sanji has arrived on the island now, so... yeah, there are still a few things that need to be brought up. What is Pudding's reaction going to be to Luffy announcing himself? I'm wondering how much Pudding knows about Sanji, because, the name of the Straw Hats Pirates, it's pretty infamous throughout the world, so even if, nobody told Pudding about Sanji being, even if she doesn't know about the Windsmoke family, which I find it kind of weird that she wouldn't, but maybe she's being, like left in, blissful ignorance. But even if she doesn't know anything about that, for years before this, the Straw Hats were making such a big, scene in the world that she surely would have at least heard about Sanji's name before, and would have heard about, the Straw Hats in general. So maybe she was just like, oh, the Straw Hats, oh, okay, maybe, I don't know, maybe she's connected to Sanji somewhere. Maybe it's like, oh, you're gonna be like my in-laws or something. I don't know. What's up with Pedro? What's up with that? How they're going to get to Whole Cake Island themselves. And what's the story with the freaking... I don't know if are we going Disney or Alice in Wonderland with this? I don't know. Which one do you think? Because the whole deal with Big Mom, she's really screaming Queen of Hearts to me. Big fat lady that's trying to control the world and dominate, although she's a little bit more cheery than the Queen of Hearts was. Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I have this new manga I'm reading. It's called Alice in the Country of Hearts. Pretty good. I would recommend it for you people. It's like Alice in Wonderland, but you got guns and shit, so that's awesome too. That's a random recommendation that came out of nowhere, but hey, this chapter's very Alice in Wonderland Disney-esque, so that kind of reminded me of that. Anyway, I'm going to get going now, but thank you for watching. Posting below, where do you think this is going to go? Like I said, mostly just an introduction chapter this week. As last week was to introduce the Windsmoke family and Vinsmoke, I don't know, I'll switch back and forth. I like saying Vinesmoke, because wine, and Sanji, cook, chef, wine, alcohol, but I guess it's Vinsmoke, but Winesmoke sounds cooler to me. But anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Tekking, signing out.